Hello everyone and welcome to Business Growth Digital Marketing. I'm your host David James, and with us on the line today is recruitment consultant Alex Marriner, who I've known over the years. He's a recruitment consultant based in London. He's been involved in the SEO space and has expanded into the digital marketing space. But like the words that I'm going to say, it won't be enough, so I'm going to let the man take the helm, take the wheel, and introduce himself. Welcome aboard, Alex.
Thank you, David, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Alex Marriner. I'm practice manager, digital marketing here at Bloc Digital. We are a digital recruitment talent specialist agency covering three core areas: creative, technology, and my own niche being digital marketing, which I've done for the last 6 years now, specializing within search and performance marketing, predominantly in the London area, but also covering some of the digital hubs across Europe, like Amsterdam, Berlin, and Barcelona.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. In this show, normally I talk with other SEO experts, but I thought it was going to be really interesting to get you on because you understand the recruitment side of things and what people are looking for. Like one of the biggest challenges that a lot of SEOs have is like meeting expectations and managing expectations and actually applying for the right role. So a lot of guys just think that they are a one-size-fits-all kind of person. When obviously that's not the case. So for those kind of like consultants that are out there and people who want to break into the industry, whether they want to go into an agency or if they want to go and work on the client side, or if they want to work with the big brands, like what are some of the considerations that you would advise them before they actually take the next step with applying for their next role?
So it's an interesting one. I guess you've got so many areas of SEO and digital marketing. I have a lot of trouble, not trouble, but I have a lot of conversations similar to this with a number of candidates of my own in terms of them maybe wanting to go client side or looking at agency. It really comes down to individual managers. I mean, hiring managers, that is, of the companies that I work for. And obviously I'd say 95% of the work that I do is client side, so they're big established brands or they're growing tech startups. And it always comes down to individual hiring managers and maybe their own personal bias. Some specifically say they want strong in-house backgrounds and some they want solid agency side backgrounds. So it can be therefore a little bit of a minefield because you as an individual, let's say if you're an SEO manager and you've worked agency side for 5 or 6 years, but you want to move client side, you might look at a particular role and go, I fit the spec perfectly. Get the CV across, probably more so maybe on a direct basis, and then never hear back. I guess the benefit by using someone like myself is that I give those individuals the knowledge up front that, although on paper you're perfect, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go forward any further because I know the hiring manager will be looking for X, Y, and Z.
That's a really interesting point. I know one of the hires I made years ago when I was managing an agency in London. I actually hired the guy, but I said to him just before hiring him that he looked great on paper, but he had never worked on the agency side, and that was my major concern. And I was like, well, is he going to be able to adjust, or will he have trouble? Because everything that he did, all the projects he showed me, it showed that he could do the job, but actually later down the line, he wasn't able to work in the agency field. He just never adapted.
I mean, I think obviously the big difference that you'll tend to see between agency and client side is obviously the fast-paced nature of agency, whereas some people say in-house roles are perhaps a little bit slower. But then again, you've got some industries like travel, fashion, retail, the iGaming industry, very fast-paced, very cutthroat industries. I think it always comes down to the individual, and I think yes, skill set is important. but just as important, maybe more so, is that cultural fit. And do they fit that culture from an agency point of view? Do they have that makeup of being able to work with multiple clients and juggling multiple things at one time? So I always try and get my own clients, majority obviously on the client side, if they do say, no, I just want someone from this space or this space, to try and open their mind a little bit so that they do have the opportunity, if anything, to compare. If they want someone from an in-house, well, let's maybe interview a few people from agency side, and at least they can test those two out. Because I had a really interesting hire one time. Well, it was a role I was working with a tech startup, and the hiring manager specifically said, I only want people from these types of client-side brands, those types of backgrounds. And when I researched into the companies that he wanted to take the individuals from, they'd all joined about 6 to 9 months before from some really good agencies. Yep. He was adamant he wouldn't take them from agencies. So I was like, well, hang on a second. All your competitors where you want to get these guys and girls from have all just moved over from agencies. So why won't you look at agency as well? But yeah, like I said, you'll get some very picky hiring managers, and sometimes it's their call. But yeah, I'll try and get them to open their minds, but I guess I can only do so much.
Yeah. It's always the case. Like when it comes to let's say some of the hiring managers and they're looking out for like SEO people or digital marketing specialists. What are some of the core skills or just like characteristics or culture fits that you think they should look out for?
Again, it depends massively company to company. I think from an SEO viewpoint at the moment, I've had a bit of a full-on SEO week this week with a number of sort of SEO manager roles coming through. They all seem to have a little bit of a common theme, though, at the moment anyway, with a big focus towards technical SEO. Okay. So they want people who are well-rounded in terms of all aspects of SEO, but ideally want people who are really strong from a technical viewpoint. So that's changed quite a lot in the last few years. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, pretty much hiring a complete in-house team for a travel company in London, and they were looking for people just with link building experience. But obviously things have changed. Things that hiring managers look for have. So yeah, from an SEO viewpoint, I would say technical SEO is very hot right now. Say on the paid search side or paid acquisition, Facebook marketing at the moment, a really big one. There are a lot of the tech startups who are spending probably as much or more money on Facebook ads than they are on actual Google and Bing. So people that really have strong hands-on knowledge of that is a big thing at the moment. And then I guess more granular, it can come down to particular companies want individuals that have managed, say, on a paid search budget side of things. I have a client at the moment that's that are going to be working with, I think, $200,000 or $300,000 a month. So they want candidates who have had that experience of working with large budgets themselves. And then it comes down sometimes to the bid management software. Some, again, companies are using a Marin or a Kenshu, so they'd like the individuals to have that type of experience. But I guess it's like with the last question, unfortunately, it's all very individual to the company themselves, which I guess makes my job hard to a degree, but very interesting, because there's never necessarily a particular role that's always the same. There's always companies that are looking for slight differences.
Yeah. I just want to switch the questions up a little bit. So, like with recruiters, recruiters typically work on a fee placement kind of basis. So, like if you were to get me into a role, you would get a cut, and then there would be a fee agreed with the agency or with the hiring manager. Now, I know from the agency side of things or on the hiring manager side of things, people always try to undercut how much you're going to work for. So there's a couple things. Like, one is some of the recruiters it seems like the rates are quite high. However, when you actually hire the wrong person, the cost tends to be a lot more. So I just wanted to get you to talk about like that aspect, like justifying the recruitment fee. So if you're charging say 20% of someone's salary,
Yep.
why should you go for the recruiter who's charging 20% rather than some random recruiter who's on the internet charging 10% fee?
It's an interesting question, and I guess I can probably come at it from a lot of different angles. I think, personally speaking, I'm definitely not the cheapest.
Yeah.
You'll always find someone out there who will do it for a cheaper fee, but I think they're in this particular space, sort of talking about SEO and digital marketing specifically.
Yeah.
It's massively competitive,
Mm-hmm.
and the talent pool is thin on the ground. So you need to make sure that you get it right. I think going back from a hiring manager's viewpoint, I think if they do it themselves,
Yep.
you've got to take into account the time and effort that they're then taking away from their day-to-day job, going through a recruitment process. So that's putting an ad together, getting it advertised somewhere, and that's a cost obviously in itself.
Yes.
You've got those candidates coming through to you that you need to qualify first before maybe properly interviewing.
Yes.
You've got a whole host of candidates that I trust me, they apply, but they've never even heard of SEO or PPC. And you've got to get back to those guys and say, sorry, this isn't going to be for you. So by doing it direct, say, there's a massive cost that I think if you actually broke it down in terms of the hours that actually a hiring manager would take away from their own day job, not having a person in place, so on and so forth. I think that there's studies from the REC, who are sort of the Recruitment and Employment Confederation, they've done over the years that actually say doing it direct will cost you more in the longer run. I think versus the fee perspective, look, it's at the end of the day, you pay for what you get. And the old saying is, if it sounds too good to be true, normally it probably is. I guess the way that I come at it is, look, yes, there will always be people cheaper than myself. However, having done this now for 6 years, I've grown a pretty vast network of LinkedIn alone. I've got sort of over 15,000 first-line connections, which is not something to sort of big up and boast about too much. But I think what that does bring to the table is there are a number of candidates in that network that know me, have known me for a while, have seen what I've done or heard what I've done through other people. So they're going to trust me when I come to them with opportunities. And they're going to be more inclined to speak with me openly as well about a particular company's opportunity and what their thoughts are. And obviously I can give them the ins and outs that they wouldn't normally be able to get. So I think it's coming with that market knowledge. And I think, look, LinkedIn profiles as well have been really handy for me because I think over the years I've been fortunate enough to get a fair few recommendations from, hopefully I'd like to think, satisfied customers, whether they be clients or candidates who can vouch for my work. And I think that's important for the rest of the market to see. But also a lot of those individuals, friends in the space or ex-colleagues, they've always come through sort of word of mouth. So yeah, I appreciate on the face of it as a headline figure, when people say, I'm getting charged 20 or 22%, it probably on the face of it, it does look expensive. But I think if you actually sit down and work out what's involved and the costs involved, I think it's a much better way for a business to do it. I think definitely using a specialist. I think if you're, even 10, 15%, you're probably, chances are you're going to get recruiters out there who they might say they know about the market, but chances are they'll probably be recruiting for anything and everything that they can get their hands on, which is fine. They might be good from a recruitment perspective, but actually having that knowledge of the market, being able to think of, I mean, the amount of times that I'm taking a job order from a hiring manager, as they're talking to me about what they're looking for, I'm constantly thinking about, yeah, I can definitely speak to him and her, and it's just that network being able to go to, and obviously, yeah, hopefully helping the process move through quicker, but again, trying to get good candidates in front of them that they wouldn't see through other sources.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with what you've said, because like as I said before, I run an agency in London, and we've gone about it in two ways, actually a couple of ways. So we've gone through the direct route, and I would love to say that I made a good choice, and I did on paper, but in the end, like, the guy couldn't do the job, and that was just for things that I couldn't foresee. And then we've also gone with recruiters, like we looked at the price, looked at 22% to 25%, and we felt it was too high. And then we got a guy who charged 10%, and the guy just sent through rubbish candidates. Like, we just wasted so much time, which cost us in terms of like business development, in terms of sales, in terms of agency management. And when you're really dealing with bigger client accounts, or if like it has a massive impact on the business, like, you have to go with somebody who's a specialist. So I can see where the value is, with you guys.
I would say, though, I mean, one thing I would say to definitely hiring managers or business owners listening to this is, okay, fees one conversation. I think as important, or probably more important, though, is the way that you work with that particular recruiter. And it's something that I'm moving more and more into. And that's either exclusive or retained work, whereby I think it's crazy when companies want to use even 2, 3, 4 recruiters at the same time who are competing, because they're basically saying to each recruiter, let's say they want 4 to work on the same job.
Yeah. Hiring
managers basically turning around and saying, right, I'm each giving you a quarter of my commitment.
Yeah.
And then expect more back from the recruiter, which won't happen. I think then there becomes problems with candidates maybe getting contacted by 2 or 3 different recruiters at the same time, which from a brand perspective doesn't help. So I think there are massive benefits for anyone about to embark on hiring SEO or digital marketing talent and using a recruiter, making sure that you work with just one, even if that's just for an initial period of 2, 3, or 4 weeks. I think results that you'll get off the back of that will prove much more fruitful than if you go gung-ho and kick off the search and use multiple agencies at the same time.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. Like, that leads into my next question. Like, partnering with somebody, whether it's you wanting to go through with a particular recruiter during your career, or it's like you're on the hiring managing side and you want to just partner with one particular recruiter. How important do you think that is, in terms of like the success for both parties?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some importance there. I mean, I've been fortunate enough over the 6 years where I've got a handful of candidates who I've placed now multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times, as they've sort of gone up the food chain, so to speak. And I really feel that I guess I've had a really good connection with them, not just through them being happy with me for placing them in their subsequent roles, but I think I've been able to watch them go on their journey. I've become very knowledgeable of them as individuals and what makes them tick, not necessarily just from a skill set point of view, but the type of environments that they enjoy working in. And I guess what that then brings is, when I do have conversations with my clients, when they're thinking of hiring a particular individual, I can then go back to that person and say, look, I've just had a conversation. they're looking for X, Y, and Z, which I know you've got. This is the type of culture, and I just think it'll be perfect, and we can go from there. And yeah, I just think the fit therefore can sometimes be better. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have a good relationship with a specialist recruiter in your specific field. I guess if you're in digital and SEO like myself, because apart from just placing you, you keep in touch in terms of just gaining regular knowledge in terms of what the market's like from a salary perspective, or what new companies sort of from the tech startup scene are coming through, and what sort of they're looking for within their type of companies as they go on that sort of hyper growth phase hiring. From a company point of view, I think it's probably, again, important, and I think it's probably similar to that of a candidate, by way of you really get to understand the business, because again, it's important to get the right skills, but it's just as important to make sure that the culture fit is right and that individual is going to thrive in that environment. I was reading, I got introduced to, I'm sure most people have heard of him. I'm probably just a little bit late to the party, but I got introduced to the Simon Sinek TED Talk a couple of weeks back, and I got his book Start With Why, and I've nearly finished that. And just what he talks about in there is very true in terms of, it's about making sure that you find, what did he say? It's not about finding someone just with the right skills. It's finding the right individual that believes in what you believe, and will therefore be more focused in terms of what you are trying to do as a business, and just feel more a part of it. So that's important.
Oh, look, I completely agree. Somebody who can see the mission. It's it kind of comes back to what we were saying before about seeing the person on paper, and then like the kind of stuff, call it an aura, if you will, that will allow them to go above and beyond. Now probably my final question is, like when I was working in London, there were always a few recruitment names that always used to come up. There's a lot of people always coming into the space, and those individuals are claiming that like they can do stuff, to help people with their careers, when actually they're just like graduates or people who haven't been able to find a job, and then they've just come into recruitment to make a quick buck. Whereas there's guys who are serious like yourself, who like do this professionally, who realize the importance of maintaining your own reputation and the reputation of the people that you represent. Just want to get you to give a bit of advice as to why people should, not why, but like how people should find the right recruiter to partner with, whether it's yourself or anyone else who you think is credible in the industry, in the UK market.
So it's an interesting one, because I guess even looking back on my younger self, I had to start from somewhere. So to a degree, from a new entrance point of view, I guess I feel something for them, because even I've been there. But I think from a candidate's point of view, it's kind of going back to what I said earlier about doing your own homework as well. I mean, like I mentioned, it's have a look at my LinkedIn profile. You'll see a number of recommendations from, I'd like to think, some pretty well-respected digital marketing professionals in the industry who have spoken kindly about the work that we have done together at that time. So I think using social media would definitely be a good first port of call, really to find out if what they're saying to you is true, by way of looking at their own background and looking at the recommendations they've got, the types of individuals that they've helped in the past. But also, I mean, I try to make it a point to be quite obviously social on social, using different channels, not just LinkedIn, on the likes of Twitter. And it's not just about, although I'm guilty of it sometimes, posting jobs and letting your network and your followers know what roles I'm working on, but it's also about sharing insights that I think would be relevant and of interest. So I guess I retweet the likes of Search Engine Land and Search Engine Watch and eConsultancy and the Drum. And I guess I pick articles that I think I find interesting and therefore would potentially be interesting to my network within that space. Moving to Facebook as well. I've just recently launched a Facebook page, which feel free to click on and like, at Digital Marketing Recruiter. But again, it's about posting content, not just regurgitating content from elsewhere, but also I do a lot of my own blogs. Obviously, I'm not a technical expert. I can't sit in front of AdWords and create an account, but I know all about it and I know what to look and listen for when hiring that. So it's partly about the market, but from more of a recruitment standpoint. So maybe things that I take for granted in terms of handing in your notice, for example. I know you guys might only do that once every 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So actually doing it at the time can be very daunting. So, for example, there was a recent post that I did, blog that I did on sort of how to manage that, what to feel, and how to make sure that you get the right result you want, i.e. being able to hand it in and getting your notice period down. But there's other things. I mean, recently, or last September, I did a blog relating to stepping up. So there was a lot of people at manager level that I spoke to that were trying to get to a head of position. So I was like, do you know what I can do? Let me go and have a conversation with my close contacts at the head of level, whether they be channel specific across PPC or SEO, or whether they be more broader, or maybe they're head of digital marketing performance acquisition, and let me ask what their journey was like in terms of how they stepped up from a manager to a head of, what to expect, how it was different, and maybe if they were looking at their younger selves, what advice they would give them in terms of how to make that transition more effective. And I took their advice and put it into a blog, and that was well received. So I'm in the process of doing something similar at the moment, but helping those head ofs who helped me with that original blog, who are maybe now looking to step up more into a director or CMO type level by utilizing my director and C-level contacts with their own thoughts and feelings. So
what you've been doing, like you have become a digital marketer yourself, so it's
I'm trying. I mean, there's such a close recruitment in general is becoming more and more digital marketing focused, and I love digital marketing, and that's why I always wanted to, well, truth be told, I always wanted to get into marketing when I was younger, but I on my hands up, I didn't have a degree, and no one would give a punt on me at the time. So I got into sales and then recruitment, and married the two together by being good at what I was good at, i.e. recruitment, but doing it in an industry I really enjoyed and loved, being digital marketing, and married the two. But video content, blogs, it's recruitment's certainly changed probably from even when I first started out, but it's enjoyable. I think I had to spend a little bit of time getting used to putting myself behind a camera like I am now, and I've been doing a few what I call job spotlights, so new jobs that come through instead of just a normal job ad, written job ad, which I still do and still get out to the market. I like to come up with a quick sort of 2 or 3 minute video that maybe people that prefer to watch videos can have a look at and find out sort of the latest roles that I'm working on. But it's definitely moving into that digital marketing space.
And it's definitely great with what you've been doing. So Alex, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. Like, I think it's been really, really insightful. I really think, like many other SEO experts and digital marketing experts, are really going to value what you shared, today.
Thanks.
Just repeat to us again, where can everyone find you?
Where you can find me pretty much everywhere on social. So I guess LinkedIn, just search Alex Marriner, Twitter at Alex Marriner, and that new Facebook page that I mentioned. I think if you just type in at Digital Marketing Recruiter, or just type in Alex Marriner hyphen Digital Marketing Recruiter. Please feel free to like my page there. But yeah, whatever your fancy is on social, whether LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, you'll be sure to find me somewhere.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for coming on, and you know where to find him, guys. You know, connect with him. You know, he's a brilliant man. Thanks again, Alex.
Appreciate your time.